Think of this: a Spanish queen, daughter of Ferdinand and Isabella, the rulers who united Spain and subsidized Columbus. Born to boundless privilege, she should have sat upon the throne of one of the greatest empires in the world. Instead of wearing a crown, Juana of Castile spent almost half a century in a castle, alone, gagged, and eternally labeled mad. But was Juana insane, or craziness an easy excuse to strip her of power? Juana was born in 1479, the third child of Isabella of Castile and Ferdinand of Aragon, the Catholic monarchs. She was not exactly heiress to much, but fortunes had other plans. Via a series of deaths within her relatives, Juana became, overnight, heiress to Castile and Aragon, the kingdoms that made up most of Spain. Her marriage was not typical. In 1496, she wed Philip the Handsome, son of the Holy Roman Emperor. It was to have a solid alliance with the Habsburgs. The marriage at first appeared to be heaven sent. Philip was charming, good-looking, and politically clever. But Juana, fiery and intense in nature, quickly became trapped in a lustful marriage. Philip's persistent adulteries drove her to the wrath of fury and despair. Here are the first seeds of her reputation. Gossip at court began to spread that Juana's temper was erratic. Was she jealous? Naturally. Was she short-tempered? At times. But was she mad? That is not so sure. When Isabella died in 1504, Juana inherited the throne of Castile. She ought to have been the most powerful queen in Europe. Instead, both her husband Philip and her father Ferdinand saw something different: opportunity. Both desired rule over Castile, and how in the world could they possibly get her out of the way? By challenging her sanity. And disaster then ensued. In 1506, Philip the Handsome came down with a sudden illness, presumably typhoid fever. Juana was devastated. She was said to be so grief-stricken that she refused to allow the body of her adored one to be moved. She was said to have pulled his coffin with her wherever she went in Castile, opening it repeatedly to gaze upon him. Chroniclers called this madness. Recent historians consider it outrageous grieving, possibly compounded by political intrigue on her part. This episode sealed her nickname, Juana la Loca. And here's the clincher. When Philip died, her father, Ferdinand, immediately had Juana declared insane and jailed her. And when Ferdinand died, Charles, now Charles V, Holy Roman Emperor, and her son no less, jailed her as well. For them, to label Juana mad was not a question of safeguarding her. It was a question of erasing her as a threat to their power. And so, in 1509, Juana was returned to the royal palace of Tordesillas. She remained there until her death in 1555, nearly a half-century later. Consider a queen, meant to be queen, imprisoned as a captive in her own kingdom. Information about her captivity is poignant. She was closely watched, at times isolated, and her liberty restricted. She was at times denied access to her children. There are accounts that she would not bathe or eat routinely, evidence she was mad, her captors declared. But more likely the rational response of a woman who has been broken by deception and captivity. Juana's tragedy is that we'll never really know how crazy she was. Was she mentally unbalanced? Maybe. Did she suffer from depression, loss, or paranoia? Maybe. But was she so mad she couldn't rule? That is doubtful. What we do know is that the insanity diagnosis benefited the men in her life, her father, then her son. Her imprisonment assured their control. When she finally died in 1555 at the age of 75, she had spent almost half a century under arrest. A queen with one of the best claims to the throne in all of Europe, remembered not for her reign, but for the name Juana la Loca, quite possibly more reputation than fact. Her life altered the query to how many women throughout history were called mad simply because they got in the way. The muteness of Juana is graced with that question. The next time you hear someone utter Juana la Loca, remember that under that myth of insanity was a queen who lost her crown, her freedom, and her honor via politics, not insanity. If you enjoyed this tale, please like the video, share it with the other history buffs, and subscribe for more untold tales of history. Because history is not only about kings and conquerors, it is also about those silenced,